Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is David Okon, and I'm grateful to come back again today to speak to you about a subject I've spoken to you about from the beginning when I joined the YouTube channel. I decided to speak about a subject which was very important at that time, and I continue to talk about it. And I will be going back and forth talking about it because it is very important. I have been talking about the cost of living. If you know anything about the cost of living crisis, leave a comment below and make a comment what you think about the cost of living crisis. The cost of living crisis has been important to me from the beginning because every day, every person on the earth, we are over 8 billion people in the earth. So I decided to speak about it, and that is what I'm going to be doing. I will also be doing other things because social media, YouTube media, you can do whatever you like. It is it's about freedom. It teaches me, and hopefully, it also teaches other people. When I choose any topic, it doesn't matter what topic it is. Yesterday I was reflecting on the climate situation, the temperature. I didn't speak even specifically about the temperature, but I was speaking about the way people live. Mainly, I spoke a lot about social media, the problem in social media, which, uh, which is part of our life. When we do things on social media, yeah, it becomes part of our lives. You know, so when we talk about social media, we are actually talk about people all the time. That is what um, I've chosen to speak to people about. And leave a comment below. And if you have the time to watch this channel, in I will be continuing to talk about these topics. It's a human topic. Every subject I talk about, I'm going to talk about people. My intention when I'm talking about money, I'm going to give context of money in terms of people. My interest is people. And I believe the people participating in social media are also people. I'm saying this because there are rumors, probably fantasies. What a lot of people say many things. They say they are aliens who are visiting the earth. But you see, when we are born humans. There are other species we have seen, like animals, birds. These are between with natural things. Then we know it. And this is what I want to talk about. I want to talk about life. Even if I talk about politics, which I talk about politics a lot, politics about people. And the way I talk about politics, I talk about the practical aspect of it. I can connect politics with different things, with the cost of living, for example. That means I try to explain policy, although I'm not an expert on policy. I have an understanding of policy. Policy is made by the government. It can also be made by other institutions. I mean, you can define government in terms of the public sector, the private sector, the voluntary sector. There are three, in terms of legal entities, there are three different sectors. I have taken it upon myself to explain this situation to people who are interested. And if you want to add value to it, if you want to talk to me about it, you can leave a comment, because this is what I have chosen to do. It may not look or feel typically social media content, but this is what I've chosen to talk on TikTok about. I will be talking about it for a long time. And if I begin to talk about cooking, you will be interested to know that I'm talking about cooking, but I'm also linking it with where food comes from, for example. So where does food come from? Food comes from agriculture. If you plant food, or maybe you catch a wild animal by hunting or by fishing, I mean, you can get food in any other way, but one way or the other, you're looking in terms of the economic factor of production, natural resources, environmental impact. So this is how I have decided to represent every issue of society which affect us. The government run any country, and I've always been talking about people. I've attempted every day to speak to people in the basic possible way, in the ordinary language, and that's has been the challenge for me, to face these issues in an ordinary language. And although I'm not an expert on any topic, I'm someone who do research, someone who learn from other people. I learn from the media, including from the social media. And I believe you, if you are listening to this video, that is also what you do. We are born, we are learners, we learn one thing. We learn one thing, we learn another thing. One of the first thing I saw from children, from babies when they're born, one of the things they learn to do by instincts, more or less, is really to feed. Because that is their survival instinct. You know, when they cry, when they are comfortable, they cry by instinct. Because that's what God has put into them. And when I talk about God, I talk as a believer, because I'm a Christian. I'm Anglican. And some people are Christian and Catholic or Orthodox. And I pray to God to bless you. Children are mysterious. They represent humans in their basic context, in their basic essence. And these are the kind of thing I'm interested in. This is the kind of thing I talk about. And I can therefore, when talking about life, I can link it with money. I can link it with everything, with birth, with living, with death. I can link it with God. I can link it with people. I can link it with life in this existence, faith in God, talking about life in this age and in the age to come, eternal life. That is talking about spirituality, talk about God. That's how I want to address every topic. It can be educational. If it entertains you, that will be a compliment, because the video I talk about can be entertaining. I try to make it as entertaining as possible, but that's not my purpose. My purpose is not to entertain. But I will try, because entertainment is also part of life. In obviously, a lot of people play music. the paint, they do painting, the they dance. But when they dance, when they write, when they make movies, or when they do play or drama, anything to entertain, they are also telling stories. Sometimes, if you are a writer, or maybe you are a novelist, fictional novelist, you educate people. You also try to entertain. And if you listen to music, and music is a very natural way of entertaining people, but it also sends messages, it teaches. And if you are lucky enough to read a textbook on maybe chemistry, a textbook on fine art, or on God, or on Satan, or on anything, and you find it entertaining, then you can put a smile on your face and say you are very lucky man or woman, because certain things do not entertain immediately, but it can be educational, it can be instructive, it can be an insight, it can provide to equip you, because you see, life is about duties, life is about responsibility, life is to be taken very seriously, life is also about entertainment, whether you take time to learn something, you read books, you see, you use your brain, you think about a topic, you meditate, you can do anything you like. I mean, you can develop yourself in different ways. And that is what I have been talking about. I've been developing uh, a channel of participating as a member of of the YouTube community, I mean, a member of the world, as a participant, as my contribution. So this is what I'm trying to use social media to do. The reason I'm making this video, because to reset the way I've been working, the reason I've been working to participate on social media, the decision I made to how to use social media on my terms, and obviously, this is how I'm going to use social media going forward. And I am hoping people will benefit from it to add value to their life, because that is what we do. We are learners. So my channel, my video is educational. It's supposed to provide information where needed, but to explain other than just give information. You could see it as a teaching material without being a teaching material. I try to use normal conversation to communicate serious issues. And that is what I have put as a task, as a challenge. The last 4 years, when I began to post videos on social media, and I've been posting so many videos, and I have been valuing what I am doing. A lot of people have been giving feedback, and although I had a break for about, I can't remember how long, I haven't posted the last video, probably a few months. I haven't been consistent because I've been sick, and I'm still sick, and because my medical condition is, I get pain on my joints. It's a form of arthritis I'm suffering from, and I get a lot of pain, and it is debilitating. When I'm in pain, I don't do many things, and a lot of things I plan to do I haven't been doing. And this is what I've been trying to share also with the people who participate with me, because that's what social media about. You connect with other people to build a situation of living with the world. And the good thing about social media is that you can even open a YouTube channel for a cat or for a dog, of little children. Depending on policy of the government of your country, we have many continents in the world. We have many countries in the world. They have different laws. They have different moral understanding. Their cultures, their people. There is morality, and there's also the law. There are also government policies which govern how people should be treated. There are rules on YouTube for those who are content creators, for those who probably also use YouTube in other ways. So this is something I've chosen to do, and it is a challenging decision. It's a challenging choice to participate on social media. It is something I enjoy doing. It is something I will continue to do. And so when I talk about maybe a policy outcome, a policy product, maybe in a country like the UK. I live in the UK. I've lived in the UK for so long, and I've done a lot of work in different areas. Currently, I give advice. I'm an advisor. Give legal advice, and I have thought how I might be able to give advice on the YouTube channel. If you know, I can give advice on the YouTube channel. Let me know. But only time will tell. You know, but when I talk about the cost of living, I give advice on the cost of living professionally. But that is a different thing when you are on the social media. So I'm trying to adjust my professional work as an advisor, which is the context in which I approach doing social media, because that is where the area of knowledge I have. And naturally, therefore, I'm dealing with complexity, a very complex area of participation, which I like. I mean, I also like politics. I follow politics in different areas, and politics covers everything. You can cover, politics itself. You can look at the economy, because you see the thing with economy is that if you don't mind, the economy is the driver of politics. You see, if you talk about power in the modern sense, whether in Africa, whether in Europe, then you cannot run a country without an economy. To run a country, you have to have an economy. It sounds very common sense, and it is. But sometimes we look at the military system, which military system is actually something called um, uh, hard power. You can call it hard power if you want. You can call it soft power if you want. But these situations, um, you look at wealth, and wealth in its behavior, you try to address the issue of the cost of living. You see, you look at politics when you are trying to understand why there is the cost of living crisis. The cost of living crisis has been a global problem, and the government talks about it, the media talks about it, the people on the street talks about it. I've talked about it on my YouTube channel. It has been very challenging to talk about it, but I have not given up, and I'm not so happy that I have continued to talk about it. The economy has played a major role in determining whether people experience the cost of living or not. And we also talk about the cost of living as a crisis. When something is a crisis, it means the government needs to intervene to deal with. The new prime minister, who was elected recently in the United Kingdom, Uh, his name is Andy Burnham. Andy Burnham said in the Labour Party, the Labour Party in the UK, the ruling party in the UK, the Labour Party, they elected a new prime minister. The new prime minister said he's going to tackle the cost of living. Now, that's why I decided to start talking about the cost of living directly, because there is a policy plan with the new prime minister who is going to talk about the cost, who is going to try to address the cost of living. That's the problem. Now, when we talk about the cost of living, if you have been watching my video, if you haven't watched it, fine. But the cost of living is about income. What do you get? I mean, if you are in the UK, if you're in America, if you are in Africa, whichever continent you are, how do you get money? You see, and it doesn't matter how we understand income. To understand income, you have to understand it in terms of money. You see, whether you are a rich person, whether you are a poor person, you need to understand the cost of living. And when we talk about how people live together and how they also separate, whether they live peacefully, whether they fight, what I call culture, or something I call society, which is the same. Because in the end, I talk about the cost of living politics. Look what society is people. And that is my interest, people. How you can affect the cost of living as a major problem. And the substance of my problem is to tell the world that the cost of living right now is big. As a problem, it's the biggest thing. Go get bad. If you can put food on the table, imagine you don't have food at all. You do not have food. See, you can watch the news. You can watch public lectures. You can watch seminars. You can watch works of people talk about what material they have prepared. I am talking without any notes. I'm talking to myself and I'm talking to you and trying to explain the situation of the cost of living in an ordinary way. What is a really complex topic? I'm attempting every day, every time I post a video, I'm going to try my best to explain something really, really complicated in a very day-to-day based on my experience. It may not impress, it may not interest, but it is shockingly useful. A lot of the time people overlook the obvious. When we talk about the cost of living, we talk about inequality, we talk about the rich and the poor, and that is okay, that is easy to speak about, but to try and to see that the cost of living going forward from now is going to be the most important topic. And some people will say, please, how about the wars in Iraq, the wars in the Middle East, the wars in other parts of the world? Yes, wars are important. What if wars now being fought is fought because people are lacking income? People who have wealth want to keep their wealth. People who don't have wealth want to get wealth. People who do not have a basic income are trying to survive. Some of them will run away and become rebelling against. They can organize into a military group. Opposition, military opposition is very common in Africa. It's very common in South America. Part of the Middle East. Sometimes we call them terrorists. If somebody, I mean, if you talk about terrorism, I don't know really exactly what terrorism is, because what terrorists do, they take, weapons and fight. Normally, they fight the state. They they fight the government. They may fight ordinary people, but they fight ordinary people because of politics. If they think, if the Arab think the Israelis are the problem, then when they find the Israelis, they kill them, and they are called terrorists. Or they call them all sort of things, but it is just semantics. It is just people are actually using language in different ways. In the end, these people are fighters. The government is fighting, the opposition is fighting. When I say opposition, those who are opposed to the state are legal entities. The people who fight the state, who oppose the state by using uh, guns, by using bombs, by using killings, a lot of, you know, uh, they use military approach to oppose the government. And the law of the state, the law of any land will say that is illegal, that is not lawful. Then, if their activity is lawful, they are going to be referred to as uh, they can be referred to as a terrorist or anything. I don't really know how they would be referred to. You can talk about them as arm of opposition. They used to call them guerrillas, guerrilla warfare, uh, um, or civil wars in terms of armed conflict. People use different languages. These days, the fashionable language to describe people who use military system to oppose the government. Military system is the opposite of civil system. Civil system can also be illegal depending on the law, because everything we do in a country is according to law, and we are to comply with the law. Sometimes we comply with the law, sometimes we don't comply with the law. And if we don't comply with the law, we do the wrong things. See, breaking the law, we do the wrong thing. Whether we have legitimate causes, I mean, if if the thing we want to do, you see, if we want to do something and we are not happy with what is being done, then we are not happy, and the government has to take responsibility. The government has to deal with a lot of information, decades and decades of rules. But you see, the thing about rules is that you set one set of rules, and over the decades, it's like a tree, it's like a river. You keep, there are so many branches of the same tree. Over the decades, that's how the law is developed. There are policies coming from the law. And that's how we are trying to manage the politics. We are beginning to look at technology. And this is the kind of thing I've been talking about over and over and over, so that people understand how the system works. So people understand how the state operates. Because if the people do not understand how the state operates, and the state is shockingly complicated. I mean, imagine you are a medical doctor, you're a surgeon, you're trying to deal with the human anatomies, the brain, the heart. You have to really look at it, do a study of it. When there is a medical problem, if you need to do a surgery, you have to do it successfully to make sure the patient doesn't really die or the condition get worse. And you have to study that. Our life is about complexity. We can make it simple, we can make it more complicated, but life is about complexity. And we try our best to understand it. And the cost of living is a very complex situation. Why do I say that? Because now, if you go to a place like Africa, I'm in Europe, and Europe is a wealthy continent. Africa may or may not have democracy. I don't really know. Europe may or may not have democracy. It depends how people understand democracy. Because you see, if there are people in a country who risk their life because of the cost of living, as an example, then you begin to ask the logic surrounding democracy. Are we actually a democracy in Europe? How in Europe can we be a democracy if one person in Europe is suffering the cost of living crisis? We look at income. You see, we look at income in Europe. We also look at income in Africa, Asia, America. You look at income. You ask yourself, what is income? You may not even know what it is. What does it mean to have income? Where do you, what, I mean, how do you get money, for example? I mean, if you have something else, do you call it income? Why income? Income will determine whether you can meet your cost of living or not. I have said this before. I try to say it over and over in different ways, in different contexts. And if you have been watching my video, if you watch it again, I keep talking about the cost of living because it is so important. But I try to make people see what it really is. The media speak for us. The main media, I mean, like the BBC, or in Africa, all the main state videos. I mean, state media. Well, obviously, I'm on the social media, and the more audience I have, the more they get to listen to what I say. And we are still a small channel. I mean, but I had determined at the outset that I'm going to carry on talking about things I care about. I will use the platform, and if the channel grows and it doesn't grow, I will just continue talking. The few, even if only one person is listening, even if only 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people are listening, for me that is a success. And that has been my mindset. That has been my purpose in using social media to talk about things I think people need to know. And I talk about people, I talk to you, I also talk to me, to myself. I do research and I learn a lot because we are a species who are designed to learn. So this exercise has been an opportunity for me to learn different things, to learn how to, you know, to think, to learn how to do reading, to do research. You have to read. You have to really to think. You don't just do things. You just do think. You learn. You do reading. You do research. But you also sometimes relax and mix with people. You go to events, and if you're lucky, you're allowed to take video at events, or you go to the park if you're able to move in terms of mobility. That's what I've been planning, or actually, when I'm able to move around, I move around, I take pictures of animals, picture of other things. So I enjoy doing it, and just to share this, to provide a logic, a context, why I am doing this. And going back to the topic of the cost of living crisis, Every time we talk about the cost of living, remember to think income. Because if you had more money, you wouldn't be in debt. You see, you could also be in debt even if you get a high level of income. But if you only get in the UK, for example, you get the national minimum wage or the national living wage, you are almost certainly be the worst affected as a victim in terms of the cost of living. So if there is a government in the UK or in Europe or in America or in Africa, Asia, in whichever continent, if they are going to solve the problem of the cost of living, let them look at income. But there's also something called financial resilience. There are all sorts of names people are introducing into the complex of income. Those may be important, but the reality is that people who operate within society, who do work as in employment or self-employment, these are the people who have to earn a living through their work, through their employment or self-employment. And now, if you are self-employed, in practice, you're going to be a small business holder, which means your level of income is low. In Africa, there is a family welfare system. In Africa, most people own land still. The government hasn't taken land yet in Africa. In Europe, in America, and now mainly, increasingly in Asia, places like China and India, maybe after a point in Asia, in certain places, people still own land, and in South America also, people like places like Argentina, maybe Brazil in South America, people still have land, in a natural way. Their ancestors lived in land, places like Australia, New Zealand. People, the Aborigines may still have land which they inherited, because when the Europeans went to conquer um, New Zealand and Australia, some people, the people who were already living there, the indigenous people, were displaced and they were dispossessed of their land. The same in America, in Europe, and obviously in Africa. The government in Africa is an invading force which was introduced through colonialism in the imperial the imperial time of the British and the Europeans. Because you see, we will talk about the British Empire, which was shared, probably partnered with the with other European powers. There were so many European powers in Africa, but Britain was the most powerful at that time. And the French, the Belgium, the Portuguese, the Germans. There was a place in East Africa known as, actually Tanzania was known as the German East African colony. So this was an incident of violence. This history in Europe are no longer being taught because there are a lot of history. There are a lot of things to learn, and so many bad things happen. So many bad things are happening. There are a lot of secrecy. There are a lot of also conspiracy. There's also conspiracy theories, which we see America is now fighting Syria. There have been war all the time in the Middle East, with the Syrians, with the what's the other one? The other one, um, with Iran. You talk about the Syrians and the Israelis, and the Middle East is really, the Middle East is just about war. When you mention the Middle East, we talk about peace. The next thing you think about, like North Sudan, North Sudan, Libya. We talk about Egypt. So at least Egypt these days have rested from war a little. Then the rest of Africa, like the Congos, Central Africa, Nigeria, you know, there is war everywhere. That's what I'm trying to say. There is war. I don't know when war will stop. And if you ask politicians in Europe and Asia, if you ask politicians around the world, you continue asking them, how are we going to stop the wars? We are talking about the cost of living. How are we going to create jobs in in Britain, in Europe? Where are we going to get work? Who will create work for us? We talk about self-employment. How are we going to create businesses in Europe when I don't even know where to start? I mean, if you are a business man or woman, it's the cost of living crisis. Well, it can be created by you, trade can be created by, can be created by COVID-19. It can be created by COVID-19. It can be created by the 2008, 2007, credit crisis, the global financial crisis. Who created that? And who took responsibility for that?
Girl, you so hot like summer,
Nobody.
and I don't wonder what
And
that
what are we going to do
lover.
about it?
You give me feels
We,
you do. No one can do it
nobody.
like you. Girl, you so hot like summer.
You are the one.
You're everything I ever
Everything.
wanted. You give me
Nobody.
feels you do. No
Nobody.
one can do it like you.
On small and medium businesses. And again, we are saying the capital world where we sell, we buy. We have trading places. We do trade. We sell, we get money. When you do
No
trade,
one can do it
you buy
like you.
food, you buy anything, to pay rent, or to buy a house, or to build a house. In places like Africa, probably you buy land. But you have to work to somebody, for somebody who has money. In the UK, for example, but also in Europe, and also in America, and also in Asia, in the rest of the world, the small and medium businesses are now struggling to compete. Big organizations have destroyed small and medium businesses. They are like big sharks, eating small fishes. I've been saying these things again and again, and those who are privileged to watch my video, it is a labor of love to watch my video. And like I said, mm, social media is about entertainment mainly, but and social media is about quick information. You go and try and look for how to open a business, or how to manage your book if you are if you don't have an accountant, how to get medicine, how to maybe, I don't know what else people do in the social media. It's mainly entertainment. But someone like me, with this program, I'm trying to break that rule. Talk about this all I'm talking about now is politics. From the beginning to the end, I've been talking about politics. But like I said, I've been trying to introduce this topic in an unconventional way, because I'm trying to reference politics in terms of of social media. Politics is a day-to-day activity. You wake up, you you know, you have a shower, you make breakfast. You see, you make lunch, or you just if you don't make lunch immediately, you have gone to work. You're probably working from home remotely since COVID-19. The system of work has changed. What a coincidence. COVID-19 comes and then with now artificial intelligence. And also, we are talking about employment. We're also talking about income. And in the UK, we have something called benefits. Benefit in the UK has to do with whether people are working, whether they're on low income. Is a system the government created to help people who are not in work. The people who might be in work, but they don't get much income. I don't know if the benefit system is in Africa. I don't know if the benefit system will ever be introduced in Africa. We used to have state pensions in Africa. That is a type of, they don't call it benefit. The state pension, they try to, but it's a part of welfare state. You see, which means the state provide welfare. So pension is part of welfare. Benefit is a very specific type of welfare. Welfare state, welfare support. This is similar to salary. If you work, you get the salary. If you don't work in the UK, in Europe, in America, you get welfare. In America, they normally call it welfare. And in this country, sometimes they also call it welfare. When you watch BBC Parliament, you can hear Kemi Badenoch, who is the shadow prime minister, is the leader of the opposition. She's a black African who, I think she was born in the UK, and she is a very high-profile woman, and she's a very tough woman in Parliament for the Conservatives. I think she's an extremist to the right wing of the Conservative. Sometimes you ask, why is a black woman? What is a black woman doing being in the Conservative Party? Because in the past, some extremist conservatives have said some really terrible things about immigrants, especially the one coming from Africa. I'm a black person. If you are with a white person, you have to do more to gain the trust of a white person, and vice versa. If you're faced with, because we are so different, we're humans, but somehow black people are so different from white people. And when the white people went to Africa to colonize Africa or to do other things, maybe they started with trade. They sail in boats, in ship through the oceans, over the oceans, and then they found that there are probably a lot of opportunities in Africa, and the instinct of traders and countries or trading countries is to control resources. So, in my opinion, probably it escalated into what became a colonial exploration, as in imperialism, because the British set up empires, the French, like I said, in South Africa, white people still dominate. Though Africa is a black continent, Europe is a white. Europe and America, the rest of the field. Asia is a mixture. I don't know. I don't know what Asia is probably a mixture of black and white, and also South America. South America mainly are Europeans who went there and mixed and intermarried with, I think, in my opinion, because the way their complexion, maybe if you go to places like maybe Argentina, Brazil, you find there are variations. Some are in South America. Some people have whiter skin than others. Some people have darker skin, but they're not even entirely black. They're not entirely white, because the creation of modern day South America was the result of colonialism. The French, the British, and but mainly the Spanish, mainly the Spanish, the Portuguese, and it was violent. So many people died. There was slave trade, and and although violence still exists on the streets and between states, between drug dealers, those who do crime, and all sorts of people. I mean, some extremists in the politics, they may use guns and bombs across the world. So these are the kind of thing, politics with a small p at the grassroots, and trying to understand, to connect these things, to try and explain the cost of living crisis. And when you speak to politicians who are now struggling to address, especially here in Britain and perhaps also in Europe and America, because there are so many wealthy people who keep wealth. They are just a few days ago. I have to confirm this information because I don't think, maybe it's written in Forbes magazine. I look at Forbes recently. The information on Elon Musk is not yet there. I think he is still shown as having over 800, almost 900 billion US dollar. That is how he's the richest man at the moment. But I saw on the internet and in other areas that Elon Musk is now a trillionaire. Unfortunately, I haven't seen it on the BBC, CNN. I haven't been watching video very much because I've been sick. I've been spending a lot more time on the internet and also social media. But normally, information, when you get it from the social media, you need to verify it. You have to make sure that these information are accurate, and you can rely on them before you begin to discuss it. But I have a feeling, because his wealth, when the last time I looked, a few months ago, probably, maybe here, Elon Musk had on just under 400 billion, and then suddenly, I looked recently at Forbes magazine. Uh, Elon Musk was under 800. Is well doubled when he sent the spacecraft. I think X. Yeah, he spent X. When he was launched, I am told the wealth of Elon Musk doubled, and I think Elon Musk is now a trillionaire, the first trillionaire in the world. He is all over social media. He is all over the media. Elon Musk is now like the ruler of the world, and these are the people who have wealth, who can manage this cost of living crisis by setting up a system so that wealth they have, some of them can be invested to help people who might need housing, to help people who might have food, to help people who might have energy, who need energy, healthcare, or even education. Someone like Elon Musk, who is now a trillionaire. Let us say he's a trillionaire. We are on social media. We can always check these facts. Let's say he's a trillionaire. I don't know how many trillions he has. And it's a piece of news. Is quite interesting. If Elon Musk can be a trillionaire, maybe the people suffering the cost of living crisis can also be a billionaire, or a millionaire, or trillionaires. Only time will tell. Leave a comment below if you think people who are victims of the cost of living, who are actually probably 80% of the population, you can be so poor that you may not even realize it. Because if you have a job, you're earning £30,000 in the UK after tax, you may not realize that you are a victim of the cost of living. Because if you lose your job, you are going to be in a serious problem, and the chances are you're going to lose your job because of artificial intelligence. Elon Musk said recently, I watched him, I think on the social media, or just, a lot of things are happening on social media. Some of them may be true, maybe some of them are not true. But Elon Musk said, um, artificial intelligence is going to help people a lot to create jobs. I think so. But people keep saying that. How are people, how in the world is artificial intelligence going to create jobs? I mean, what kind of work is it? I mean, how many people are employed? How many people are going to be employed because artificial intelligence is introduced? My nephew lost his job. He participated. He was actually medium-sized, medium-ranking in the management in a very big organization, big in terms of power, in terms of how they control the market. Maybe not really volume, but it was a very powerful organization. He lost his job. He said to me, he was the one who introduced the idea of artificial intelligence, and probably he also instituted it. I don't really know. But I really laughed at him. I said, you're just too clever for your own life. Because, you see, in practice, in on the ground, artificial intelligence is losing jobs for people. It depends on the kind of work. I mean, artificial intelligence may create certain type of jobs. But I would argue that probably 90% are going to lose their jobs globally. People are not going to have jobs. Not only artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence integrates with other types of technology, like robotics, like nanotechnology. And when this element of technology comes into force, including 3D printer, I have said this over and over and over. If I was a prophet, I was going to be paid some money. Your prophecy has been fulfilled. Artificial intelligence is already here. When I started this channel, I kept going on and on about machine. Yeah, robotics are a bit behind, in my opinion. But when robotics come, things like vehicle will turn into robots. Aeroplane will turn into robots. Supermarkets, you will find robots in them or intelligent machines. It's already happening in parts of America. You go to the supermarket, there is nobody in the store. What does that mean? It means everybody who used to work there have lost their jobs. You go to supermarket now in the UK, the retail sector accounted for over 50% of employment. Now, if you go to the supermarket, you go to the bank. The bank are now machine operated. I do online banking. If you're going to transfer money, you're going to do it online. We see it coming. You see? And we still think we are going to have work. How are we going to have work? Where I work right now, the work I do, if there was no internet, if there was no telephone, because it's our technology, if these things were not there, the work I do on a daily basis would have been done by 10 or 20 people. I do it alone. I do research online. We have a website. I do research. I phone client because I do remote work because of my health condition. I have a mobility problem. I do remote work. I work from home. I phone and speak to the client. But the most powerful element of my work is actually the internet. And that's where everything happens. I even write a case on a daily basis. I write a case. And when I write a case, I publish a book on a daily basis, a technical book, and I really enjoy doing it. However, if there was no internet, if there was no technology, the one job I do can be done within a week or even 3 weeks. I do it in maybe 1 hour. And that is the power of technology. That means in terms of efficiency, because I use technology, I mean, other people will have to lose their job. I'm an advisor. And this is just the beginning. And you are looking at trains, buses, Elon Musk, driverless cars or autonomous vehicles, airplane, and the delivery. If you find motorbike, like in places like maybe Kenya or parts of Africa, there's something called tuk-tuk, which means taxi, motorbicycle taxi. You find motorbike driving itself, there are no humans on it. You go and sit on it alone, like maybe, what's the other one? Yeah, there's a motorbike, there's tuk-tuk for carrying loads. So you find something like tuk-tuk, which is it's like a four-legged tractor. It's like a cross between a motorbicycle and a tractor or a truck. You find them running around like, like small vehicles, like small vehicles used to collect garbage. Garbage collector trucks collecting garbage are moving along, and the creatures coming out of it are robots. Maybe in the next 100 or even the next 50 to 100 years. But I am just being conservative with this kind of perspective. This is coming, but it is happening now in the hospital. And if you go online to look at the National Health Service website, you are now being reminded that you are supposed to be your own medical doctor. Be your own medical doctor. Be your own dentist. If you go online, a lot of the things they are talking about now, in my opinion, I think that is now an introduction of nanotechnology. If there are now teeth which can be just built through certain crystals, if it is true, because one of the social media can be fake, can be true, but because the frequency of it, the frequency is so much that you begin to see that these things are now true. So many things, they are really exciting. They look like toys, but they are serious objects. They are serious. They are going to take away work, take us back to the cost of living. Because you see, if I pick a topic like the cost of living, you can link it with different aspects of society. Look at technology. How does technology contribute toward the cost of living crisis? These are some of the things I believe politicians can try to do a study, but politicians are so busy. Everybody is so busy. How about parliament? How long are we going to have parliament? Are we going to run parliament? Are we going to run civil service departments, government departments? Are we going to do that? Are we closing down the public sector? Yes, we are closing down the public sector. But parliament is the public sector. The civil service is the public sector. The providers of benefits, the providers of employment should be the government. But now, employment is being provided by the private sector. As we close down the public sector, we now continue to increase the private sector. We had something called the voluntary sector in terms of entity of law for organization, a legal entity for the public, the private, and the voluntary sector. These are the basic entities. So when you close down the public sector, you do something called privatization. You privatize the public sector. You sell the private sector you sell the public sector to the private sector. And in the process, you close down the public sector. Then the benefit system, which is the source of income, which is responsible for whether or not you suffer the cost of living problem. Because income is supposed to alleviate the cost of living. It's a medicine for the cost of living. And that's the purpose of income. It alleviates the cost of living. I said this is the cost of living debate or discussion. And it evolves because the policies of government is evolving. Right now in the UK, the government is more or less, yeah, the government is functioning at the civil sector, but the political, which is parliament and the rest of the field, is they are on holiday. It's in recess. Parliament is in recess. I don't know. I think they are going to come at the end of this month, because this is August. We are going toward. We're in the middle of August. We are fast approaching the end of the year. As soon as we enter September, things will start speeding up. The weather starts speeding up. Politics. I wait to see the new policy the British government is going to introduce about the cost of living crisis. I also will be interested to know how the British government is going to finance the cost of living support, which they say they are already. The new prime minister said they are going to they are going to change priorities, reprioritize certain spending. They're going to take funding from digital ID, which is being promoted. I don't know what they're going to do exactly. I don't know how much money they're going to get from the digital ID policy or program to move that money to support the cost of living crisis problem. They no longer talk about crisis. They talk about the cost of living as a daily problem. To solve that problem, but I have a feeling the new government is going to struggle because you see, Britain is being funded by banks, private banks, and if somebody funds you, if somebody funds you, they control you, they have power over you. In theory, the more we privatize the economy, the more we are going to depend on the private sector to run the country. The government cannot run the country if it doesn't have an economy. The government cannot have an economy if it has closed down the public sector, because as you privatize the economy, you close down the public sector and you open up the private sector. However, the private sector operates on the basis of maximizing profit. People who work for a living, who work now for the private sector, they want to maximize their income. When they maximize their income, they then get help with the cost of living crisis. Now, benefits, as we have it in the UK, is to be a function to help the British people maximize their income. The private sector, the private business want to maximize their profit because profit is their income. Our earnings at work is our income. And also our receiving of help from the government to complement our earnings, or lack of it, or absence of our earning, which come from benefits. These are incomes which maximizes our income. And also at the cost side, at the liability side, if you like, we lose money by meeting the cost of living, paying rent, buying food, paying for energy, paying for water, paying for health care. paying for dental care, paying for public transport or private transport. The list is fairly endless. Buying clothes or clothings, shoes, maybe going to party, entertainment, going out and going on holiday. These are all the cost of living. That is how this thing is working. So what are we going to do? If we cannot get work, because, the people who are supposed to provide work will not provide work unless they need employees. Unless they need employees, employer who are private owners of business will not provide work. You are not going to go to an employer and say, I want some food, give me a job. Life is not like that. That is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go to an employer. An employer is not going to, what kind of skills and experience have you got? Are you reliable? What is your attitude? Your customer service skills. Are you rude, polite, somebody who take initiative, or work on your own initiative or as part of a team? The kind of thing you get when you go to do an interview with your employer. And if you don't get that in practice, what are you going to do? You're going to be jobless. Not because you do not want to work, not because you don't have experience, but there is job cuts. You have been job cuts. You have been job cut. So we now, because your small and medium businesses want to cut costs. The biggest cost burden on businesses, small and medium businesses, is employment, creating jobs for people who do not have the means to the cost of living crisis. So if employers cannot create these jobs, employee will not get this job. They're going to be jobless. And they're jobless, and they're also benefitsless. They don't get benefit because at some point, benefit is no longer sustainable. Because, the government has to be there. It's a public service. How can the government run public services if they have sold of the economy? Where are they going to get the money? The government is going to close down. The government in the public sense is going to close down. That means the benefit system will also close down. Private businesses do not provide benefits. There are benefits at work as employee, but that is if you are employed. That is theoretical. Because if small and medium businesses are also losing their businesses because of something called corporatization, whatever it is, don't worry about it. It means big businesses take over small businesses, or they put pressure on small businesses. They shut down because they are not competitive. Small and medium businesses are no longer competitive. They cannot compete with the big people. The big people can lose money and still be in business. They can operate for 5 years without making any profit because of their capital, because of their capacity, because of the nature of their operations. And every time there are mergers, every time a big business overtake a smaller one, or take over a smaller one, people lose jobs. They make cuts. You become big by making cuts. You become big by investing in technology. When you become big and you invest technology, that is wealth. Sometimes it's called infrastructure or capital. You invest in them as a big corporation, and then you have a lot of wealth by cutting costs. Cutting costs may mean cutting jobs. Cutting jobs mean people who are going to be jobless, penniless. Penny mean money. You're going to be without money. You're going to be penniless. You're going to be jobless. And if there is no benefit, you're going to be benefitless. If you are not income, you're going to be incomeless. That means you are going to be lifeless, because you will not even access healthcare. You are going to be healthcareless. You see, you are going to be homeless. That means you're going to lose your home. You see, you are going to be transportless, because you cannot get into anybody's transport without paying, even for the public transport. If you have a car, you're going to be carless. You're going to be foodless, because you cannot access food. You're going to be energyless, because you cannot have any energy. You cannot be waterless. You're going to be waterless. That means you're going to be lifeless. That means you're going to die. Unless the private multimillionaires and multi-billionaires and multi-trillionaires intervene to help people who are nothingless. People who are nothingless. They haven't anything. They don't have anything. Leave a comment below. Let me know, because sometimes there are people who give advice to governments, but they don't really know exactly what is happening. This video has been really tediously different, and I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Share this video with family and friends. And if you have the happiness to watch it, click the notification bell so that the new video you can be alerted, so that you miss nothing. Leave a comment. I want to know what you think about this situation, because it's about our life. The system is growing, the system is getting bigger and getting powerful and becoming global. What happens in Europe is going to happen in Africa, in Asia, and across the globe. This is a life and death situation. Let us choose life. Let us talk about this situation. Let us understand it. Let us do research and focus on it, because we need to take responsibilities for our life and hard work to do research, to talk about it, do seminar, workshop, being responsible, because we are a species on the verge of extinction. We don't want to see humanity disappear because of poverty. We fight wars, bomb and guns, because we have eaten food. We have access to shelter. But if the cost of living takes over our life, we are going to die. The cost of living as a problem will kill us. Only those with wealth will remain. But they're going to be so bored that they're going to... I mean, if 80 or 90% of the population dies of poverty, if they die of poverty, only the multi-trillionaire or even zillionaires in the future will remain. They're going to be so bored. They're going to want to become robots or even machines, because they will be so sad. We need to be happy. Even if you are so rich, even if you are so poor, human beings are human beings because of happiness, because they live in harmony, because they live with one another, because they feel strong, they feel power, even if they have no weapon or wealth. We need to speak out to get back power, so that we are motivated to become people who say we are not going to go away quietly. We need to survive. The system, the way it is going to destroy us if we don't find solution to the human problem. We are busy fighting one another. In the family, we are getting divorces. Women are being murdered or being abused by husbands. People are not getting married. We are doing all sorts of things. That is the topic for the next video. I'm going to talk today. When I talk about the topic, about the developmental those